wholesome video about Warhammer. It does exist.
And this is what it means to us. We're back, it's another episode of The Kieran Show, and this week we're taking a wholesome tangent.
Yeah, this is like a lens looking at us.
Yeah. How narcissistic.
No, not well.
It's The
Just a
Kieran Show,
preface.
it's all about us, baby.
Not in a narcissistic way.
Yes, absolutely. No, joking. Yeah, so what we'd like to do is actually take a little trip down memory lane and also a bit of a deep dive into what Warhammer is as a hobby and what it means to us.
And why we do it day in,
day
out.
Why we're slaves to the algorithm, why we're suppressed by Instagram, why we just live for life. No, never any of those things, but mainly sometimes. But yeah, just off
it's
the
kind,
bat.
it's kind of like an open window into why two guys with the same name are so passionate about Little Plastic Men.
Yeah, and you don't even have to be called the same name we are. You could be exactly
Helps.
the same thing. Oh yeah, it really does help. And if your name is Kieran and you're into Warhammer, please message us.
Yeah, come join us because there ain't many of them.
Please do. We could be like the inner circle. Circles
That's
within
not-
circles, as Valrak would say. But yeah, just straight off the bat, like Warhammer is a miniature role-playing game that has a competitive element, that has a creative element. It's based in a fantasy setting and a sci-fi setting. What is it to you?
It's escapism
Escapism. Nice.
from, well, I would say normal life, but a lot of the politics in the world is,
a bit rubbish.
yeah. It's. I think, for me, it scratches the childhood itch of 3-year-old, like 5-6-year-old me is in his room with Power Rangers, smashing them together. I don't know what's going on in your head, but it must have looked hilarious, like my parents.
I think you need help.
Yeah, just you can cook these massive things in your brain. You're smashing toys together, and then you've got Warhammer, which is giant super soldiers and giant aliens.
The aliens.
So for me, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of nostalgia, and then I really enjoy the creative side as well. So I work in IT as my main job, which is quite literal. It's everything. There's 1 or a 0. There's no creativity. Whereas I think for me, it's nice to have something that isn't scripted, something that doesn't have to be a specific way or work a specific way. It's I can be creative. What about you? Why do you like the Little Men's?
I think why do I like the Little Men's? Yeah, I think it's probably like a similar tangent. I think I'm a incredibly creative person, and I think it's very difficult if you're not in a creative job to sort of stretch those wings and flourish a little bit. And I think this hobby really does help. And I think for me, it's not necessarily just painting. It's building. It's storytelling, which I really, really am fascinated with. I've always wanted to, since I was a kid, make something from this hobby. So I remember when I was really, really little. I say really, really little. When I was about sort of like 9, 10, I suppose. I just read White.
Given how
Dwarf.
tall you are, it's probably quite little back then.
yeah, I was still 6 foot. Yeah, grow a whole 4 inches in my adolescence. I think when I was a kid, it was like reading White Dwarf magazines and painting Lord of the Rings miniatures. I've always been obsessed with sci-fi and fantasy. I love those sort of settings, and to have that space to grow and to make things that are yours in an otherwise quite saturated IP, I think is amazing. And for me as well, something I didn't necessarily have as a kid. Is being able to share that. I think as a kid.
Yes, I was the only one at school that was into Warhammer.
Yeah.
The first time I was into Warhammer,
Exactly.
so it was very much. I go home and I paint little men.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone when I was in school. It wasn't cool. Hilariously, let's just drop this in there. Superheroes weren't cool. Video games were fine, but it depends what you played. And Warhammer wasn't cool. And for some reason, it's all turned on its head.
I think Warhammer is never going to be mainstream. I think innately because of the setup that it is, that it's You know, you look at Airfix. Airfix has been around for how many years?
I don't actually know what that is.
It's you build the planes and you paint
Oh, that's it. Right, I'm with you.
them. They're the brand that make them, so you can make
Cool.
any like jets. I did Airfix as a kid as well. That's always been really that's always been popular, but it's never been mainstream. I think with the advent of the Amazon deal that's looming over, and I think there is a worry that it's going to go too mainstream, but I don't think it can. I think fundamentally at its core it's building plastic kits, and that innately has never been mainstream.
I think that's a really exciting sort of segue though, isn't it? Like having like a brand new injection into the hobby means that there's a hell of a lot more creative people out there that have never sort of taken this journey, I suppose, which is amazing to see and will be phenomenal, really. Like, because we see Warhammer artists pop up all the time, and they're just like, I don't know, do any walk of life, any job, whatever, and they just like crank out the most insane minis or stories or anything. Like, it's amazing.
One of the great things I think about Warhammer for me as well is what it is to me is it brings a lot of different people from different walks of life, and they all connect over this really weird,
quirky,
convoluted, quirky universe.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, but does make sense, but doesn't make sense, but does make sense.
Yeah, narratively speaking, it's a bit all over the shop, but even in fantasy and sci-fi and all of the other tangents that the Warhammer IP sort of goes down, everybody is just sort of joined together.
On the back of that, I think one of my favourite things about Warhammer at the minute is that it's blowing away every stereotype.
What do you mean by that?
So, unfortunately, there is a stereotype with people that that are into these nerdy things. Warhammer, I think, at the minute, if you look at the people that are in the community, it doesn't apply. They're proving that no matter what walk of life you're from,
it's incredibly varied, isn't it?
There's so many different people but they're all connected over this stupid guy that sits on a golden throne, or this man that smacks people on a hammer. Yeah. If you're into Sigmar.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think what I do really like actually now is the sort of how diverse the community is as well. Like when I was when I was a kid and you'd walk into like a Games Workshop or a Warhammer shop or whatever, like it was always like the same kind of people you'd assume that it would be, and it was always like either kids my age and they were all boys, and it was all very much like it was like a men's thing, I suppose. And then as I've grown up, we are like really, really very lucky to have some of the most incredible artists who aren't boys, who aren't males, and they just the injection of creativity, inspiration, like who they are as people. I think we're very, very lucky to have such a rich, diverse background of people, and I think that's amazing to see.
It's been like we've touched on that. It's been really great to see the community and all the walks of life expand. I think you could talk about that for hours because it is really cool. I think.
How do you think it compares to when you were a kid? So obviously, like I imagine that you started it as a kid for probably different reasons that you do now, but something must have persisted.
I think looking at it, I don't really know why I started it when I was a kid. I think because I still had a childhood imagination. I didn't need Warhammer. I still had Transformers. I was still smashing them together. I still had like stupid Lego games like on my bedroom. I didn't need Warhammer. Like my imagination was already gone. So I didn't need it. I don't know why I got into it. I think maybe it was the physical aspect that there were tangible things, and that then there was a game system around them, so I didn't have to come up with my own rules for it. For me, the other thing I love about Warhammer is that it's so conscripted in the sense that there is a set lore, there is all of this, and then on the flip side, you don't have to follow that. You can. There is so much. It's like, I tell you what, Warhammer is a lot like Stranger Things.
I'm excited for this.
You've got like the top level, which is everything's normal. You've got all of these things that are prescribed by Games Workshop, and then you've got the upside down.
Right, what's in the upside down?
Fists of the First Templar, Chaos Wolves.
You can do your own thing.
But you've still got, because they're in this bubble, they still fit, and they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. You haven't gone too far. They can still then fit within these confined.
IPs.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing.
That's such a crazy analogy, but I do understand.
You get the essence of what I'm trying to say.
I don't like it, but I understand.
Yeah, it was all I could come up with on the spot.
Yeah, no, you know what, it sticks. I think that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Like, when you say, like, the IP, like, it's not just, oh, this is a Space Marine, because it's the basic vanilla model. Like, these aren't just, like, basic troops. They all have, like, a story and a part to play in this huge grand narrative, and they've existed for at least 10,000, if not longer, years, and they have parents and grandparents and all of these wild daddy issues that coincide with them, and we are very, very lucky to have all of these authors that dedicate their life and soul into giving them rich backstories and heritage, but also a trajectory going forward as well.
Yeah, I think I dread to think how many hours I've spent on Lexiconum, or however it's pronounced, or like the 40k like fandom website. I remember when I first started getting back into it, I was like, because I'd missed like 5 or 6 years, I had like unholy amount of tabs that I'd opened and was going through. Like, it was the history of the Emperor, it was the history of Space Marines, like, and then there was like, I remember distinctly another tab of all the bits that were in a Space Marine, like all of the organs, and I went. That was so cool. It may have been there when I was a kid, but I was too narrow-minded to see. But coming back to it, as an older person, that it had expanded. That you could have lore about the organs that make a Space Marine a Space Marine.
Yeah. See, when I was a kid, I wasn't aware of any of this, so it was just
I knew that the Emperor was a thing.
I didn't. I suppose I didn't. Like, I think
I didn't care.
The biggest character that stuck out to me as a kid, aside from like the Lord of the Rings setting, which I was like solely in, really, was like Ghazghkull Thraka. Like, I remember him being like mentioned at a shop, and I was like, oh, that sounds like such a cool name. What's that? And I saw that it was orcs, and I was like, oh, orcs are cool. And then sort of stemmed from there, I guess.
For me, the only character I distinctly remember from way back then was Marneus Calgar.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember seeing him on the shelf, and I remember asking like the guy in the Games Workshop. Shout out to Sutton Coldfield Games Workshops where I started. I remember saying, who's that really cool Space Marine guy? He's like, oh, I think at the time it wasn't totally fleshed out. He's like, oh, he's the leader of the Space Marines. And I was like, Mum!
I need the leader!
I need it. I never got it. I never got him.
Yeah, we've got it now.
Now I've got to paint him, and he's not a leader of the Space Marines.
That's actually a nice tangent to go on. Like, so being an adult and having adult money has its own
benefits.
Well, I was going to say pros and cons, but
there are a lot of cons. You have the disposable income, but you don't have the disposable time. Whereas when I was a child, I didn't have the money. I had all the time in the world to paint them. And the irony was, I spent next to no time on my miniatures, and they probably looked horrific.
Yeah. I think in the concept of time, like, what is... I don't know. So, for example, if you had like a difficult day at work or something, what's like your most optimum way of spending time doing Warhammer? Because obviously, if time is precious and we haven't got enough of it, I guess, without sounding too philosophical, like, what's your like perfect way of utilising that time within Warhammer?
So for me, since the advent of COVID and working from home, I feel that Warhammer's actually got kind of worse for me in the sense of getting to do it. So before COVID, I used to go out to work. I would come home, I'd have dinner with my partner and the kids. Then I would then go and sit at a desk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, paint something, and have an audio book on. And then in COVID, we had all this hobby time, and I did get a lot done, but there wasn't the sense of I now get to do what I want to do because I'm always in the house. Yeah. And it's even since I'm lucky enough to have a home office now that we work from home, but I paint in here as well. So it's like, for me, I'm working and then I just turn right, and I don't have the disconnect. That's the one thing I do miss for my hobby, is that you go out to work and you come back and you get to do the fun things at home. I work at home and then have to hobby at home. So I don't really have a preferred hobby set up in terms of time at the minute. What about you? Obviously, you've got a separate space to go to outside of your house, which I imagine does help.
It does help. I suppose it's for me, it's doing something brand new. Like, I don't like. I've emphasised more than enough on this channel. Like, I don't like doing box art. I don't like doing the painting guys what it should look like or what it should conspire to be, I guess, like within an IP. Like, I love making new things, and again, it stems from that creativity, like making new characters, making new schemes with their own like backstories. Like, that I absolutely love. I've never really had the courage to write anything, but so like narrative reports or narrative stories like within Warhammer is always so fun to do.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And I think when you can integrate it with I don't know, a team that you've made up or characters that you've made up on the spot, and they've got their own like ideas and goals, I suppose, as people, like, or whatever race they may be. I just think that's lush, and I think having that sort of creative flex narratively, not just from like a artistic approach, I guess, like that's definitely my go-to. I think about Warhammer a lot, and I think, just being totally honest,
it feels, and this is going to sound ridiculous, it's at the moment, it's every fibre of my being.
It's not. I
don't like that. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it is.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to admit that. It's not healthy, but it is an obsession. Like, I am obsessed with this IP.
I've never come across or met anybody in person. I imagine there is some out there that they're only like half in. You go, I've got a Warhammer army and I play it every now and again. Everybody that I meet and talk to, they're in.
Yeah,
they've got they've got a full army painted that they've had for years, or they've read all these books. There's no halfway. You're either in the cult or you're out the cult.
Yeah, that's actually what I really like talking about with everyone else as well. Is everybody has a different take. Like, everyone has got a favourite army or favourite characters, and they love them for XYZ reasons because of their Warhammer journey and what it means to them. And I think that that's really, really special. Like, for example, if you're into sports or whatever, and you've got like a rival team, and you probably find some common ground within the sporting world, industry, whatever, like, as people tend to do, and I do totally respect that. I'm into sports, so I get it. But Warhammer is so different, and I can't imagine having this conversation, for example, like with Lord of the Rings, let's say.
No, we're so lucky that we have a universe so rich that you can have all the things. I'm going to paraphrase and slightly change that. Do you remember Games Workshop came out and said Warhammer is for everyone? But they had there was a lot of toxicity going on. We won't go into that. But Warhammer is for everyone. I think if you look at everybody now that's coming in from different walks of life, that they can all find something in there. If you flip that on its head, I think there is something. Warhammer is for everyone. I think everyone can find something in it that they enjoy. Whether it's just I like board games, or no, I'm just creative and want to paint stuff, or just want a universe to get lost in.
Yeah, for sure. I think just off the bat, I think we're also quite competitive people, and I think
people as humans, I think anybody that tells you that they're not competitive is slightly lying. Nobody plays a game to lose. As much as I've never been bothered about winning Warhammer, I don't play to lose. I don't go, right, I'm not bothered. I'll try and win.
Yeah.
I'm happy to not. I'm happy to have fun.
Happy with losing.
For me, winning is I had fun, but I never play to lose.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think that comes with its own issues as well. Whenever you play anyone, and I've certainly been subject to some games where even I've been like a bit sweaty, like just a bit like too much.
I think.
But it comes,
board games,
human nature, isn't it?
Board games in general bring out the worst and the best in people. Whether that's local gaming groups, or if it's with your wife and you play Monopoly and verbally
abuse each other. Yeah, it's savage.
Well, don't put that you abuse your wife on the internet.
Yeah, maybe not abusive, but it's certainly like character building.
Character building. Yeah, I've been in the room with you and your wife when you get competitive, and there is some character building going on there.
Yeah, it's strange. I love that woman to bits, but she is just insufferable sometimes. We played Monopoly with some friends when we visited them the other week, and it got aggressive quickly. Yeah, there was this moment where I sort of capitalised this corner and just was slowly drip feeding everyone's money into my account, and I was just like, oh no, I win. And of course, I was a total snake about the whole thing. She was livid.
I hate Monopoly.
Yeah, no, big fan. But yeah, no, Warhammer is one of those very, very special games as well, where you can have the super sweat sesh, uber competitive, if you want. Or, alternatively, my preferred setting, which is like absolutely narratively driven, playing with friends, roll some dice, everyone's in it for a good time, not a long time, and you just enjoy it. You're just along for the ride.
I think a great thing is obviously if you've got those two different kinds of people, they still meet in the middle over this nonsense board game. It doesn't make sense.
Silly game, no. In the grand scheme of things, it means nothing, but at the same time, it means a lot.
It's monetary investment.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. In the grand scheme of things, it means nothing, but it means a hell of a lot to nearly all of us, which is great.
I think that sentiment is echoed by quite a lot of people in the community, and the community is a great part of the Warhammer hobby as a whole. Is that it just does show off the good things of social media. The few good things that you can find people that are as into it as you are.
That's interesting, actually. What's your take on the social media aspect of Warhammer?
It's great,
but
for me, the typical issues with social media still bleed in. Oversaturation. You obsess over likes, comments, follows, all this nonsense. Algorithms, everything. It just sounds hilarious because we're literally talking about that whilst putting it on a social media platform.
Please like and subscribe and follow. Yeah, I think in relation to those good and bad things, like just as far as like a health standpoint, I suppose, like both mental and physical. Like obviously everybody stands with utilising everything in moderation, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like this does wonders for me personally. As that sense of escapism, you touched on it at the beginning. Just doesn't matter. Like you could have the worst day imaginable. It could be like super stressful. You could be ready to lose your fragile little mind. But sitting down at a desk for half an hour, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, and painting Tau, you could have the best time ever. And it's a total decompress.
Yeah, definitely. And just to be scientific about it, it's been proven time and time again having a creative outlet is better for your mental health as a whole because you utilise both sides of the brain. Your brain is one whole unit, not just half that you use every day.
That's so much better than what I said.
It's not. It's scientific. It's boring.
It's not boring. I think that's interesting. It's cool. Double brain.
My brain's twice the size.
Double brain.
It's like Dexter's Lab.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, like all in moderation. Let's all have fun, but let's not be stupid. Be stupid. But yeah, now we're going to tell you to be stupid. Because you can buy Warhammer.
You can buy Warhammer from
these links down there.
affiliate links. Leave us a comment with what Warhammer means to you.
This is a really important one, and this is something that we'd really, really love to hear your take on. Obviously, we've spoken a hell of a lot about what it means to us and our personal experiences. But there's certainly been a few comments in the past on YouTube videos that we've had that have like really sort of struck a chord with us.
Yeah.
Like really, really special engagements.
Give us the essays. I saw someone the other day. They put the bottom. Oh, you might not read this. No, we read every comment.
Yeah.
No matter how long it is.
Yeah, they're the ones that we really like to take time over. Like obviously, we read and comment to everyone that is posted, but the ones that are special and the ones that people have really taken the time to invest on, especially.
I like it when you can feel someone's passion through what they've written.
Yeah. So please do share all of your favourite hobby memories, be them big or small, with us, because we'd really, really love to know. But also get the conversation going down below, because that is what our hobby is about.
If we could ever be cool enough to set any trend, I think a conversation among people in the community about why they like Warhammer is cool, because I think people will find a lot of things that they connect over from that, and also things that are different to them. People might look, oh well, that's a different take on why you're into Warhammer. I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see some of that conversation.
Very nice indeed. But yeah. Also, before we go anywhere, we would also like to extend a very massive thank you to this lovely list of people right here. Everybody's streaming, going, woo, we love.
I can't believe that list is growing. It's mad.
It is very, very mad indeed. And considering we started this last year in this teeny weeny room with next to no equipment, our first video was on an iPhone. Go watch it. It's a lot.
No, it's not. It's awful. I can't rewatch it. It looks like the camera is flaying me alive.
Oh well,
That's how I look. Like I feel.
That was 5 haircuts ago for me, so judge away. Leave all your comments on that video too. But yeah, so everybody in that list that has joined us either on Patreon or within the YouTube memberships, we think you are brilliant. We think you're absolutely brilliant. All we do is talk about Warhammer. We do silly challenges and we paint things that we might not necessarily want to paint, but it entertains you and you love it. So yeah, to us, you are phenomenal.
Yeah. But yeah, get the conversation going down in the comments and let us know what Warhammer is to you and why you like it.
There it is. Just from your 2 hobby dads, Kieran and Kieran.
I'm older, so.
It makes sense. I'm the hot young one.